With the all-new Mercedes SL coming, let's take a look at the heritage, how the Mercedes SL became the icon it is today. Everything started with the 300 SL racing car here from 1952. It's the number 2 indeed, so the oldest SL that is still available and the second one that was built. This one had 170 horsepower, a 3-liter inline 6-cylinder, and from that race car then the first Mercedes 300 SL was developed. And this is here a 300 SL Coupe, the gull wing from 1957, here with 215 horsepower, also from that 3-liter inline 6-cylinder, maximum speed up to 260 kilometers an hour. Wow. And based on that, they developed the Roadster, this one here, the 300 SL Roadster from 1958. Basically same engine, but of course then no gull wing doors, but the open top. This one here built from 1954 up to 1963, around 3,000 pieces, so really precious. Here this famous cooling opening for the drum brakes, right there. This design element has been carried over the generations, and it was also available with fabric seats, by the way. Look at that here, the Roadster interior with this huge steering wheel, of course no power steering at all, and the round instruments right there. Also really characteristical here, the back mirror, and red was also a very famous interior color for that one. And design wise, we can see here in the front, you can see how the headlamps form these domes. This was really remarkable as for the design, but the front grille, when you see nowadays Mercedes, this is really resembling. Then the W113, the so-called pagoda, because when the hardtop is mounted, it looks like an upright pagoda. So this was then the nickname for this model from 1963 up till 1971. This is also a very sought-after model. Around 50,000 pieces were built. The grille has a little bit grown in width there, but the front lamps, they are actually quite similar if you compare it to the predecessor. Really interesting golden color, and my favorite design element is here that you have the same wheel colors here. This, these alloy caps then same here as for the paint. So these pieces here, when they are properly restored, also extremely expensive. Not as expensive as the 300 SL, but these two, the oldest one, definitely the most expensive ones. The one you see here is from 1968 and has a 2.8-liter inline 6-cylinder, 170 horsepower. You see the 280 SL automatic gearbox, and of course has been very famous in California. Look at that, the interior is actually really resembling still from the original 300 SL, but definitely a lot of upgrades. Also chassis safety wise, it was a big step forward. So when you had a crash, you weren't like, literally crushed. So more chassis rigidity and safety definitely for the passengers. Of course, no airbag yet at that stage. And you can see the automatic gearbox. And then the very famous R107. This one has been so popular worldwide. The first SL that was built, first of all, for a very long time, between 1971 and 1989. And it was also sold in so many more pieces. And that's why it can be bought relatively affordable if you compare it to the Pagoda model, for example. Still, there's typical wide front grille that we saw in the past and also see again nowadays. But here then it moved more to these horizontal tail lamps, which then, from this point on, really defined Mercedes design. Engines from 2.8 up to 5.6 liter, and this one here is R107 500 SL from 1982 with a 5-liter V8 engine, 240 horsepower. And the interior, this is the one I found most beautiful actually. Maybe it's just my generation when I grew up also with the W123. So it has some modern design elements, like here, like the automatic gearbox, but still analog gauges and so on. And the steering wheel is also better as for safety. It's actually softer, so when you crash into it, it was actually better. And this one was also, from this model here on, from 82, available with an airbag. Interesting stylish blue interior here with a lot of fabric, for example. Leatherette seats were also available, and also these models were for years bestsellers in California, so to speak. And this very typical, you know, more down-to-earth design, more box style. And also take a look here at the ribbed tail lamps. They were also used for different models, also for the very first baby Benz, the C-Class, and also for the very first S-Class and so on. They also defined the Mercedes design here in the 80s. And because Mercedes was so busy developing the baby Benz, this generation here was built for 18 years. So the next generation was delayed. This one here, the longest SL generation ever built. And here we have a red R107, so a very famous color for that one also, and the combination of red on the outside and beige on the interior, this is of course a very beautiful one. What do you think about this one here, by the way, with the manual gearbox that was also available? Oh, this beige cloth is really cool, right? And then there's the R129 or 129, built from 1989 up till 2001. This is, you know, now a already more or less modern vehicle in this very box design. I mean, really strong on the road. The front grille has been changed significantly. It has, I would say, less elegance, but more presence on the road, more sportiness, and that was also under the hood. 2.8 up till 7.3 liter. That was then a 12-cylinder engine with 525 horsepower. The very one we see here is a Mercedes SL 600 from 1995, a 6-liter V12 with almost 400 horsepower, and top speed was 250 kilometers an hour. The ribbed tail lamps here stayed the same. The interior now looks completely different, more like a modern car. And this one here also introduced the airbag then from standard equipment. In the previous generation it was still an option. Also here integrated seat belt holders, and there was also then this automatic overroll bar that pops out. And it also came with a hardtop you can put in right there in a very easy way, and the roof is also fully automatic. The R129 also had the very first adaptive suspension at Mercedes. Next generation, the R230. This one was built from 2001 up till 2011, and it has also adaptive suspension as standard, also offers air suspension. Engines 6, 8 and 12 cylinders up to 670 horsepower, and you can see here in the side profile a little bit more round shapes definitely. This one is here a V8 compressor. Oh, and by the way, look at these wheels here. Also beautiful work with the screws. And the one you see here is an SL55 AMG from 2005. 5.4 liter V8, 517 horsepower. The interior with more luxury features and more plush and definitely more round again. So this is very interesting. So both exterior and interior, when we take a look here at the line of vehicles, it began round and central. Then everything got more boxy and angular. And here, once again, a little bit rounder. Very interesting how the design evolved both in exterior and interior. And then, of course, there's the current model, the R231 or 231 from 2012 up to 2020. We also had it here, and had it in the south of France, for example, with a beautiful road trip. You can also tune into this review, so I really recommend you to do that. And this, of course, has all the modern amenities, and also infotainment system-wise, this is where this was more crucial. And the driving agility was, of course, way better than the outgoing models. So driving-wise, my favorite is definitely the 231, the most current generation, most comfort and most fun in driving. But styling-wise, exterior and interior, the R107, this one here. But the overall best price performance, I think here with the 129, actually lowest price, but still classy styling on the exterior and already good comfort and safety. Also tune into more Mercedes SL content right here. You see the videos and also more links in the video description. Which one would you actually go for? Tell us in the comments which Mercedes SL generations would you actually like to own.